Oh yeah, is it Tuesday already? Characters returning. Oscar Isaac could be coming back for Star Wars Starfighter, making things a lot more interesting for this so-called standalone movie. And Mandalorian and Grogu movie is just a mere 8 months away, just over 8 months away. And the KOTOR Remake, we were talking about it last stream, and it seems like we spoke it into existence, has some leaks going on. Andor cleaned up on aisle 2 at the Emmys this weekend. Should have won more, but you know, what are we going to do? And we got some other crazy stuff to talk about. Rebuild the Galaxy Season 2 is in just about 10 days from now. Star Wars Visions is in just over a month from now. A lot of crazy Star Wars news. A lot of crazy Star Wars stuff. But without further ado, let's dive into all of it. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing on this fine Tuesday afternoon? Start of yet another great week for Star Wars news, as pretty much every single upcoming project, at least every single era of Star Wars, has some news to talk about. Old Republic even. Old Republic, Andor, Mandoverse, post-sequels, you name it, we got it. Rebuild the Galaxy, Visions Volume 2, 3. We even got non-canon things, Legends things to talk about today. But before we get into any of it, we actually even have a trailer to talk about today, but that has to do with the video game. But before we get into any of it, let's start the stream the only way we know how. By saying hi to everybody in the chat. Let's get on it. Fight the Faith, what's up? Agnes, how we doing? WV Grad in the house. John Groom, what is up? Matt, how we doing? Rachel in the house. That guy B, what is up? Kyler, how we doing? Drewby McCool's in the house. Holly, what is up? Brandon Baker, how we doing? Fearless in the house. Stanley Jr., what is up? Tafari Tano, how we doing? Ron in the building. Dave that loves Star Wars, great name. Star Wars Santa is in the house. Navarro, how we doing? Matthew, what is up? Darth Plagueis lives, how we doing? All right, if I miss you, you know the deal. Just yell at me in the chat. Let's give everybody a nice little,
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Okay, so I think we got to start with this whole, Andor thing. Because on Sunday, there was the Emmys. And Andor was nominated for a shit ton of Emmys, and this led to, well, winning some of them, which was great. Should have won them all, but, you know, what are you going to do? And Tony Gilroy talking about the future of Star Wars content at Lucasfilm. Now, he probably won't be involved. He's talked about how he's going to step away from Star Wars for a while, and that's okay. We'll live, I think. But he also talked about teasing some things happening behind the scenes at Lucasfilm. So I think we start with the Andor stuff, get that out of the way, because Andor's over. It's never coming back. Shed a tear. And then we'll switch over to the Oscar Isaac stuff and the Mando stuff and the KOTOR stuff and the Rebuild the Galaxy stuff and the Visions Volume 3 stuff and the holy crap, we got a lot to talk about today, so let's stop dilly-dallying around, Mike. Let's get to the stuff! Okay, so the Emmys were last night. Or not last night, sorry, Sunday night. 2 nights ago. And this has come from StarWars.com, but we won quite a few awards. Actually, I think somebody already caught the Easter egg. Yeah, WV Grad, I think, caught it first. Okay, yeah, the Easter egg today was a pretty easy one. I've been going hard on you guys the last couple streams, so I went easy today. BB-8 is there instead of Grogu. Just switching it up a little bit. Yep, okay, I get it. You caught it. I get it. You caught it. But, where were we? Okay, so, Andor. Oh, hang on. I can't see that. If I can't see it, then you can't see it. Okay. Andor wins 4 Creative Arts Emmy Awards. So 4 wins for the biggest show of the year. Okay. So first and foremost, what other television? Oh, we got a super chat. Hang on. What other Star Wars, or what other television in general, not Star Wars, just television in general, came out this year that's better than Andor? Now, obviously, I'm a little bit of a biased opinion. I have a show called A Guy Who Loves Star Wars. So, yeah, I think Andor Season 2 is the best show of the year. Sue me. Don't actually. But what other TV has come out this year that even comes close to Andor Season 2? Anybody? What could have possibly have lost, or Andor have lost to, I should say? The Penguin, Penguin was pretty good. I'll give you that. It's not Andor, but it's pretty good. I'll give you that. The only one that comes to mind for me, personally, that I've seen is Severance. Severance was spectacular. It was also a second season. And much like Andor, the second season was better than the first. So Severance, I know, won a lot of awards too, and deservingly so. Penguin won 8 Emmys. Holy crap. That's crazy. Andor only got 4? Yeah. Well, Andor wasn't even nominated for some of the stuff like Best Lead Actor. Like, Diego Luna wasn't even nominated for that. But it did win 4, okay? It did win 4, so let's take a look at this. On the first weekend of the 2025 ceremonies, the Disney Plus series was recognized for outstanding costume, production design, visual effects, and picture editing. While music by John Williams took home an award for sound editing. What? That's pretty crazy. So here are the winners. Winning for outstanding fantasy/sci-fi costumes. I mean, come on. Can't have Star Wars without its costumes. And especially in season 2 with all of Mon Mothma's different outfits. And I mean, everybody's different outfits, really. All the people on Yavin 4. That's a good one. Also won outstanding production design for a narrative period or fantasy program, hour or more. Could this be any more specific? Chandler Bing, sorry. Outstanding production design. The thing that Andor had going for it that Star Wars fans love so much is the practical effects and practical sets. So, yes, there's still CGI elements to it. This is Star Wars. This is a galaxy far, far away. But when you compare it to like The Mandalorian or other Disney Plus shows, Andor had so much more practical effects, and fans loved that. You had that place that I'm blanking on the name of in London that worked as the Senate building, or Mon Mothma's sort of piece of the Senate building. And that was pretty much placed into Coruscant really, really well. But more practical effects, that makes sense for production design, stuff like that. It also won for outstanding picture editing for a drama series. Picture editing? Okay. Sure. Editing, great. Outstanding visual effects, there you go. The TIE Fighter scene comes to mind to start the series. But you have K2SO quite a bit as well in there. Nothing very specific, and I believe that's the last one. Oh, John Williams won something too. It's not very specific. Diego Luna didn't take anything home specifically. Stellan Skarsgård, Genevieve O'Reilly, like none of the actual actresses or actors of the show took home any individual awards, which they should have. But still, great to see 4 awards go home for the best show of the year. What are you going to do? You can't win them all. You can't win them all. And then let's take a look at this John Williams one. Outstanding sound editing for a nonfiction or reality program, music by John Williams. But the music, there is music by John Williams in here, but the majority of it is not. What are you going to do? Or is it not? Is this just in general? Like this is not just for Andor? That would make more sense. That would make more sense. Andor was nominated for 10 other categories, so it was nominated 14 times, taking home 4, including several of which were awarded Saturday night, alongside of for a nod of The Acolyte's sound editing, which it lost. The Acolyte didn't win anything, but it was nominated for Outstanding Character Voiceover Performance for K2SO, Alan Tudyk, Outstanding Sound Editing for a Comedy or Drama Series. So hang on, it won picture editing, but not sound editing. Okay. It was also nominated for Outstanding Sound Mixing, so it won picture editing, but not sound mixing. This is why I didn't watch the Emmys on Sunday. Outstanding Music Composition for a Series, it didn't win, but John Williams won something for Outstanding Sound. Oh my God, he won for sound editing? What even is this? What even is this? What's the gaming channel called? It's called The Eggs Gaming. I'll paste it in the. It's called The Eggs Game. You'll probably never find it because we have like 50 subscribers, but yeah, you'll find it. Okay, but this is all just doesn't make any sense for me. It also got nominated for original music and lyrics, original cinematography for a series, or outstanding guest actor for Saw Gerrera. Okay. And The Acolyte was nominated for sound editing in a comedy or drama series. And there you have it. Sounds like a lot of a 10 million word long award. But at least it won 4. Took home 4 of these nice statues. You'll love to see that. But the coolest part of all this is more interviews. Tony Gilroy talking even more about the status of Star Wars in general and what the future of content looks like at Lucasfilm. And let's just say it's got people a little bit excited. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. So let's take a look at that. Yeah. Andor showrunner reveals that Lucasfilm is developing really unusual Star Wars projects and offers advice to new creators. Let your freak flag fly. Freak flag fly. Okay. Well, this really unusual Star Wars projects has piqued a lot of Star Wars fans' interests. What does the future of Star Wars content look like? And as we look to the future, you have next year Maul Shadowlord, Mandalorian and Grogu, and Ahsoka Season 2. The last one of that being the final live-action Disney Plus series that has been announced. So as of right now, after Ahsoka Season 2, there is nothing. Andor has ended. Kenobi was a limited series. Ahsoka is coming to an end with its 2nd season, supposedly. Mandalorian has ended after 3 seasons. It's moving to the big screen. It's all over. But this line right here, this future Star Wars projects are looking really unusual, is leading fans to believe that there is something behind the scenes going on at Lucasfilm that we don't know about yet. Which, sounds pretty awesome. So let's take a look at this. Following his critically acclaimed, I'm going to miss saying that. Let's say it again. Following his critically acclaimed 2-season run of Andor, showrunner Tony Gilroy has offered new Star Wars creators some advice to bring the franchise forward. He also teased unusual upcoming projects for Lucasfilm, and now we want to know more. In a recent appearance on the podcast The Ringerverse, Tony Gilroy reflected on his creation of Andor and how to continue to bring unique perspectives to the beloved saga. Because Andor, although it at first was not beloved by most, became one of the most accomplished and well-loved Star Wars series ever. Maybe it's because of its lack of lightsabers, its ease of watching for non-Star Wars fans, or maybe because it's just a freaking masterpiece that happens to be in Star Wars, in the galaxy far, far away. Either way, we got 2 seasons of one of the greatest shows of all time. And now the leader of that, Tony Gilroy, is giving advice and telling us a little bit of behind-the-scenes stuff. So, he goes on to say this. It's driven us crazy on that show. Every time people, the clickbait, try to draw controversy between us and the other shows, he explains. By the same token, it would be very wrong to come in and try to slavishly reproduce Andor. So he's saying, don't just do what I did. Pretty much. He's also talking about this clickbait stuff. Now, let's be honest, on this channel, time and time again, we do pin shows on each other. I usually just say, which one do you prefer? Andor, Mandalorian, whatever. Which one do you like more? I'm not saying because Andor is really good, that means Mandalorian or Ahsoka is really bad. Never would say that. But we have done the tier listing where we're putting these shows, which one is better, this or that. Yes, you do see this time and time again online where they pin these 2 shows against each other like, because Andor's so good, this show must suck. Yeah! You get that sometimes in the Star Wars fandom that we have. But as we like to talk about here all the time is this can be good and so can that. Just because Andor's a masterpiece doesn't mean The Mandalorian's any less good. Doesn't mean Ahsoka's not the greatest thing to ever exist. Right, chat? I know. It's just me. But it doesn't mean that the finale of Kenobi isn't a masterpiece. Doesn't mean that The Acolyte is really, really good. Right, chat? I know. It's just me. Doesn't mean the Book of Boba Fett's really good. Right, chat? Sorry. Stupid joke. Okay, moving on. But that is how it should be. You see Star Wars fans pinning projects against each other. They both exist in Star Wars. You know? They both are Star Wars. Can't we all just get along? Okay, moving on. There has to be a hook, a reason why you want to bring your game there. So there has to be a reason why you're telling this story in the Star Wars universe. For many reasons, he did Andor, but he also came on board Rogue One too. He adds telling creators to let your freak flag fly. Try saying that 10 times fast. And do what you do best. For Tony Gilroy, he didn't really know Star Wars all that much. However, he could tell a very grounded story in the Star Wars universe pretty damn well. He didn't have to add to the lore like crazy, even though they did, with mentioning the Rakatan Empire and doing all those Easter eggs and Luthen stuff. Those are the other people working on the show. It's not just Tony Gilroy who gave us Andor. I know we talk about Tony as the guy who gave us Andor all the time, but there's a whole team of writers. There's a whole team of people, directors directing different episodes, and people in the back putting in these Easter eggs in Luthen's gallery. Like, it wasn't just Tony, but we give all the credit to Tony because he's the head guy. Same way we give, all the credit to Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau on these other projects. But what he knew how to do was make a ground level story in Star Wars and make it really, really good. And that's what he did. So what he's saying here is do what you do best and make a great story in the galaxy far, far away. You don't have to abide by all these other things that came before. You don't have to remake the Mandalorian. You don't have to remake what came. You don't even have to remake Andor. You make your own story and do what you do best. Echoing many fans' demands, Tony Gilroy encourages Lucasfilm to focus on new characters and time periods. This has been a constant argument for years now. Since the Skywalker saga ended 6 years ago, we've been talking about where the Star Wars galaxy should go next. New time periods, well, that would have been The Acolyte, and well, that didn't go too well. But new time periods would be Dawn of the Jedi. It would be Knights of the Old Republic, which we'll be talking about today, and it would be post-sequel worlds, not just telling stories about the same characters over and over and over again. However, there are some Star Wars fans, myself included, that do like to see Star Wars characters that I know and love come back and tell stories over and over and over again. That's why I'm hyped for Ahsoka Season 2. That's why we're all hyped for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. That's why we're all hyped for Maul Shadow Lord. Because it's characters that we know and love, we fell in love with years and years ago, and we want to see their stories continue. So there needs to be balance, a balance of both new and old that can satisfy the needs of all Star Wars fans. And that's a very hard thing to accomplish. However, it looks as though Lucasfilm is doing that. You do have what you know and love. You do have your Ahsoka Tanos, your Mauls getting shows, while also giving us Dawn of the Jedi, giving us Starfighter with new characters and old, giving us a post-sequel trilogy with Simon Kinberg and all that other stuff. So you're getting both. You are getting both. But Tony Gilroy gives us a little sneak peek behind the scenes here. There's how many billions of beings in the galaxy? Probably trillions, actually, but yes. How many corners of it are unexplored? He said, while teasing exciting projects to come for the near future, there's some things that Lucasfilm is building that are really unusual, I think. And I think that lesson is being taken to heart. So the idea that there are so many beings and planets and stories to be told all across the Star Wars galaxy that it's not just about this one Skywalker family, because that saga is over. So now you're going to get to see movies like Starfighter, movies like Dawn of the Jedi, stuff that explores the actual Star Wars galaxy that isn't just revolving around Palpatine's and Skywalkers. Even in the main Skywalker saga, you're focusing on characters like Din Djarin, like Maul, that don't really have that much connection to Skywalkers, even though Mando does cross paths with Luke, and Maul does probably cross paths with Vader. In the series, it's still other aspects of the story, other places in the galaxy. It's a big old galaxy. Now, I go to his last sentence here. He knows that Lucasfilm is working on some things that are really unusual. What do we think that might mean? I always believe, because Dave Filoni's a freaking genius, that there is something going on behind the scenes at Lucasfilm. That there's a big old plan in the works. These big whiteboards in his office that have all these lines connecting to all these different things. I think that the next 10 plus years of Star Wars content have already been laid out. Now, will those things change? Sure. They'll change all the time, whether it's scheduling conflicts or casting issues or whatever it may be. Things will change. But I think Tony Gilroy has gotten a look as to what that future of Star Wars content might be. And as he puts it, it's really unusual. Really unusual. Honestly, you have to think that it has to do with Andor, because he wouldn't be in on it otherwise. And there's only one thing that I see here that could be the case. Now, what am I talking about? Well, if it's regarding Andor, then Tony would be involved in it. And there's only one thing in Andor, especially season 2, that would further the lore of Star Wars and give you something really new and extremely unusual. And that's the Rakatans. The Rakatan Empire, going back to the Dawn of the Jedi, or even before the Dawn of the Jedi, 25,000 years before everything, and establishing a completely different galaxy 25,000 years before everything. Stuff changes very quickly in this galaxy, and 25,000 years is a long-ass time. New ships, new droids, new everything. You barely even have the Jedi or the Sith established at that point, and you're going to get to see the dawn of the Jedi in that movie. But establishing the Rakatan Empire in Andor, of all places, is clearly alluding to something further down the line, some very unusual projects that Lucasfilm is working on, that Tony Gilroy would have some sort of knowledge of, because he was involved in making the start of it in Andor, mentioning the Rakatan Empire multiple times throughout the 2 seasons of Andor. So I do think that something very unusual is happening over there at Lucasfilm, but that might just be a complete shift in the narrative of Star Wars storytelling. Less Skywalkers, more crazy, crazy stuff like the Rakatan Empire, Dawn of the Jedi, and Old Republic things. Which to me sounds pretty damn awesome. Yeah. Yes, do some stuff over on Peridea too. Well, Peridea will definitely be a part of it as well. You'll see more Peridea in this new galaxy in Ahsoka Season 2, which will be fan-freaking-tastic. But it also was already established in Ahsoka Season 1 that the Night Sisters come from that other galaxy. They learned to ride the Purrgil and come over to a completely different galaxy, and that's when they established their home on Dothamir. But they originated from Peridea. So if Night Sisters, these weird these weird humanoid species that can wield the Force in a very different way than Jedi and Sith, using it to create this magic, if they are from a different galaxy, what else is out there? What else is in that other galaxy? Because we've only been to one planet. So I do hope that Peridea does have an involvement in that. Not just in the future of the timeline, but in the past too. Yeah. That too. Okay, let's keep reading. There are certainly some lessons to be taken away from Andor's success. This political thriller series set in the world of Star Wars has become one of the best shows in recent times, and critics raving about it and its viewership increasing by almost half during its second season. The show also received 14 Emmy nominations, the third most of any Star Wars show after the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. Although there were some surprising acting snubs, like I said, all the lead cast, none of them were really nominated for anything. Before we even get into that. So what they say here, too, is there can be a lot to learn about the success of Andor. One of the big issues with the prequel trilogy for a lot of people is the amount of politics that are thrown in there. Because if you're a huge fan of the originals, there's not a lot of politics in that movie. Or those movies, I should say. Not a lot at all. There's a little bit. Mentions of the Senate in A New Hope and all that. But that's about it. In the prequels, it's such a heavy thing. Actually, deleted scenes had to be deleted because there was too much politics going on. A lot of stuff with Padme in Attack of the Clones and in Revenge of the Sith had to be cut because it was too much politics. Fast forward 20 years after the prequel trilogy has ended, and we get Andor, a political thriller in Star Wars. And it just so happens to be one of the greatest Star Wars projects of all time. So it went from people complaining so much about the politics in Star Wars to people loving the politics so much that anything else is not good. You're going to see that shift all the time in Star Wars. You've already seen it with stuff like the prequel trilogy, with it now being loved by most. And at the time, it was very crapped on by critics and fans alike. You're going to see that shift over and over and over again. So, yes, you can learn from the success of Andor, but that doesn't need to mean the next Star Wars show you make is another political thriller. No, it doesn't at all. It could be anything and anywhere in the galaxy and still be as good as Andor by taking from the success of the show without having to completely copy and paste the entire thing. Yeah. So the 2 things that excite me quite a bit from Tony Gilroy is, one, he knows what the future of Star Wars is going to look like, and he says it's very unusual, these future projects that they're working on. And he's always, as he says, leaves it open-ended for a possible return. He's saying he's stepping away from Star Wars now because he's got other things to do, but he could always come back. And I'm sure a lot of fans would welcome that with open arms. So, with that being said, do you think that Andor got snubbed at the Emmys? It's clearly yes. And what do you think he's talking about when he's talking about unusual upcoming Star Wars projects? What do you think Lucasfilm is working on in the background there? Is it something about the Dawn of the Jedi, Rakatan Empire, or is it Peridia, or something along those lines? Or is it post-sequels? And he's talking about Starfighter. What could he possibly be talking about there? And as you do, let's put up a poll in the chat. Let's put up a poll! If you have not yet already, smash a frickin' like on this stream, please. I appreciate you. Okay. Do you think Oscar Isaac will be in Star Wars Starfighter? Yes or no? So here's the big news. Oscar Isaac doing some interviews, talking about Star Wars as per usual. Talking about coming back. And not just anywhere, but in Star Wars Starfighter. Now, the news over the past probably 2 or 3 weeks has been heavily involved with Starfighter. Ryan Gosling, of course, being the lead of that movie, Sean Levy being the director of that movie, and the cast, having been announced a couple weeks ago, being absolutely loaded. Not just Ryan Gosling, but also Matt Smith, Mia Goth, Amy freaking Adams, and others. So that's why the talk has been this movie. It also releases in 2027 and just started filming. So that's sort of why people have been talking about it quite a bit. But the conversation continues because of Oscar Isaac. He, of course, plays Poe Dameron in the sequel trilogy, and the talk of sequel trilogy characters returning with the Rey movie and Simon Kinberg's trilogy, and could we get John Boyega back as Finn with a lightsaber and all that greatness. Poe Dameron is not talked about nearly enough. He's introduced in The Force Awakens as the best starfighter pilot in the galaxy. Then he becomes a leader throughout the course of the trilogy, and by the end of it, Leia is gone, and he is the leader. Him and Poe sort of him and Finn, sorry, sort of side by side, are the co-leaders of the Resistance, which now kind of is the only government in the galaxy, with the First Order gone and the New Republic blown up by Starkiller Base. So Poe Dameron, even being in talks about Starfighter, changes pretty much everything we thought we knew about this movie. Standalone movie, original idea. Like, yes, those things are true, but that doesn't mean that Poe Dameron can't be in there. Rogue One is a standalone movie. It also has Vader, Tarkin, Leia, even characters like Mon Mothma in the movie. So you can have Starfighter be a standalone movie and have characters like Rey, Poe Dameron, Finn show up at tiny points throughout the movie to add to not just where it takes place in the timeline, but also add to the story. Because Vader in that movie, the hallway scene, the conversation with Krennic, like that stuff is just, whoo. I mean, come on. And Tarkin, of course, being there as well. But let's talk about what he had to say. So let's see if I can actually pull this up. Oh, okay, cool. Why is it? I don't know why this quality is so horrible. Let's see. I don't know why it's so grainy, but we're going to just watch it anyway.
How you doing, buddy?
Good, how you doing?
This is exciting.
You look beautiful.
Thank you. You look amazing
Thank
too.
you.
This must be such a highlight in your career to be able to do this with Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, it feels like life before Frankenstein and life after Frankenstein.
Yes. I was like, what is he doing this for? Frankenstein. The Frankenstein movie he is starring in that comes out, or maybe it's already out. I don't even know. If it's not Star Wars, who the hell knows? It actually says Netflix in the top right corner, so it might be on Netflix right now. I don't know. I don't know these things. All I know is he's talking about Star Wars. Okay?
The fact that it's here in Toronto where we shot the majority of the film is very special.
In seeking life,
Whoa.
I created death.
The father and son aspect is the most important part for Guillermo to make sure that came out true. What did he say about that and made that a priority?
Mia Goth is either also in the movie or somebody.
Well, that's what we connected over in the very first place. Like, I met with him for just a general meeting in his kitchen over, Cuban pork, and we were just sitting there eating, and we started talking about our relationship with our fathers and his relationship with his father and mine, and the joy and the pain and love and what we pass on to our kids. And from that moment, we synchronized, and that was kind
Okay, talk about Starfighter,
of the through line of the whole
please.
piece for us, and kind of exercised a lot of emotion and a lot of what's been inside of us, and that's what he's so amazing at, kind of expressing all of that in this incredibly beautiful, visual, sumptuously emotional way.
So you pulled from your own experience from your dad to do this character.
Yeah, I mean, as an artist, that's what you do. Like those are the raw materials, is your own experience, and what one hopes for is that you're given the space to and the permission to do that, and that's Guillermo led the way with that.
And we want to see you back reunited with Ryan Gosling. Will
Here
that
we go.
happen anytime soon for Star Wars? Bring him back
For Star Wars, man, we'll see. I mean, yeah. Hey,
And
man,
It's
I
like
get it.
before Frankenstein and
right. Well, yeah, I'm ready for it. You let me know
ready
when.
for it? Okay,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Okay.
You're amazing. Thank you.
So, a guy who not too many years ago was really against coming back to Star Wars, like really, really against it. He was like, nah, I'm good. No more Star Wars. A guy who was once at that point has now, over the last 2 or 3 months, multiple times mentioned that he would be open to or okay with coming back to Star Wars. Now talking about Starfighter directly because he's worked with Ryan Gosling before, saying, we'll see, and I'm ready for it. Aren't we all? So with that being said, Oscar Isaac says he'd be down to team up with Ryan Gosling and Starfighter. We'll see. I'm ready for it. Let me know when. Do you think this will happen? Money talks. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's going to come back regardless because the story needs him. This post-sequel world doesn't work without Poe Dameron. Let's just put it that way. This post-sequel universe, the galaxy far, far away, does not work without a certain Poe Dameron as one of the leaders of the new republic or new republic or whatever it's going to be called, the new government in the galaxy. It doesn't work without him. It doesn't. So do you think, yes or no, he will be in Star Wars Starfighter? Now, Mia Goth is also in this Frankenstein movie, or has a part or something to do with this Frankenstein movie, because she also was asked about it. Now, she gives a very, 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 very brief response here, but we do have a Mia Goth clip here, too. I can pull this up real quick.
You'll be acting with one of our Canadian icons, Ryan Gosling, in Star Wars. How does it feel to be a Star Wars villain?
It's amazing. It's amazing. Totally surreal and wonderful, and yeah, very excited.
You'll be
So that's literally it. But still, confirmation she will be playing a villain in Star Wars Starfighter. Great. Don't know who she's playing. Sith, pirate, smuggler. Don't know. But still, pretty damn cool. And she looks very, very excited. Still hoping it's Darth Talon, but that's just me. So going back to Oscar Isaac. Going back to Oscar. Poe Dameron returning in Starfighter, I think would be a lot more welcomed by the Star Wars fans than if it was in some sort of Rey movie. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think when we talk about the Rey movie and calling it a Rey movie in general, turns fans away because Rey was not the most well-received character in the sequel trilogy. And I don't think people really want to see a continue of her character. However, when you put in those characters like Rey, Poe, Finn, etc., in a standalone movie with Ryan Gosling, Sean Levy, all these, Matt Smith is the villain, and Mia Goth is the villain, you might have some fans be more excited. It's like getting Rogue One before A New Hope ever released. Hopefully. I mean, I'm comparing Starfighter to Rogue One like it's already happened. Rogue One's a very high bar to hit. It's like a top 3 Star Wars movie all time. I'm not saying Starfighter couldn't be, but it's not yet. If it is, then that will be enormous. Not just for Starfighter and Star Wars in general, but for the Rey movie. Because it needs all the help that it can get. Because once you say Rey movie, there's a gut reaction from Star Wars fans. Whether it's a good one or a bad one, well, that remains to be seen. But people have a very, very, very drastic reaction when you hear Rey movie. That's why it's not the first movie to come out. We're getting the Mandalorian and Grogu. We're getting Starfighter. And that's why it needs all the help that it can get. And Starfighter might be the place to do so. If Finn comes back in this movie, if Poe comes back in this movie, if even Rey's at the end of this movie, it will help. It can't hurt. I mean, it could hurt if the movie sucks, but it will more likely help than hurt the Rey movie's chances of being good. And again, it's not going to be called the Rey movie. It's going to be called like New Jedi Order or something along those lines. It won't be called the Rey movie. So hopefully that will help too. But Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron, back in Starfighter, yes or no? Is that something that you would like to see? Tell me in the chat. Tell me in the chat. By the way, 77% of you guys say yes. You do think that Oscar Isaac will be in there. Not you want him to be, but you do think he will be. Which I hope it's true. It's a movie called Starfighter. Poe Dameron's supposed to be the best Starfighter pilot in the galaxy at this time. Why not have the best Starfighter pilot be in the Starfighter movie? So much of the plot is a mystery right now in this movie, other than the fact that it's Ryan Gosling and this kid character, and he's helping protect this kid character from some enemy threat played by Matt Smith and Mia Goth. That's all we know. So I couldn't tell you what this movie's going to be about or where Poe Dameron would come in at or how he would be involved with the story at all. But there's ways you could do it. Ryan Gosling could be like a apprentice for fighter pilots below Poe Dameron to become the next great pilot in the galaxy. I don't know. But I want to see him there. In a movie called Starfighter, you want to see the best Starfighter pilots. Poe Dameron is one of them. I thought it was a TV show. No. Starfighter is a movie. It will release in May of 2027. Movie. Yeah. Starfighter and what it sets up, I think, will make it one of the most important Star Wars movies ever. That's some pretty high praise for something that's supposed to be a standalone movie. To be the most important Star Wars movie ever, it's pretty high praise. I agree with you to an extent because it is the first project post-sequels. I like that it's a standalone movie for a post-sequel thing because the sequel trilogy just is very divisive, and whatever you do post-sequels is going to be divisive. And when you detach it from the other sequel movies by calling it Starfighter, having a brand new cast, then it makes it feel like something new, something fresh. And I agree with you that if it does what we think it should do, which is set up post-sequel content, set up a new villain with Matt Smith and Mia Goth, set up hopefully like some lead into the Rey movie, a lead into the new Jedi Order, that would be pretty great too. It will be very, very important. That's for damn sure. This movie will be very important. A Mia Goth trilogy, please? I don't think that Mia Goth and Matt Smith's villain characters will be one and done. I couldn't tell you why. I just don't think they will. Like, Matt Smith has been in talks to join Star Wars for so long. I don't think you just give him one movie as the villain and kill him off in that same movie. And I think Mia Goth will sort of just be along that same route with him, working side by side with him. Yeah. It wasn't Daisy Ridley's fault. She's an actor. She can't be directed by it. No, I'm not. First of all, I personally, with a few little hiccups, I like the character of Rey. Daisy Ridley's performance is amazing. That's never been in the question, but yeah. Star Wars Order, what's up? She's pretty busy. Who is? Mia Goth? I wouldn't know that. Matt Smith might be playing the Vong. Well, yeah. I mean, the reason that there's two villains and that being interesting is there could be two Sith. They could be two leaders of a species like the Vong or the Grisk. They could be anybody, really. But hopefully it's characters that will last more than one appearance. That's the dream. That's the hope. Yeah. Oh, Matt Smith is very busy. Very busy. Matt Smith is still filming House of the Dragon Season 3, plus he will be needed for Season 4. I thought it was ending with Season 3. Is House of the Dragon more than 3 seasons? I thought it was only 3 seasons. I have not watched House of the Dragons, so the only reason I know that is just from interviews. Yeah. I don't know. I am not too sure. I would love like a Top Gun meets Star Wars thing. Yeah, well, that's sort of the idea here. And when you have... Wait, who is the... I might be thinking of something else. Jonathan Trooper. Who is he involved with? Jonathan... Star Wars. Jonathan Trooper Star Wars. Oh, it is Starfighter. Okay, I was right. I was right. Yes, okay. I was right. Jonathan Trooper, whatever the hell his name is. Jonathan Trooper. I was right. Okay. It was for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, though, I think, and I can't remember what it was. Whatever. Yes, but Top Gun in Star Wars is pretty much exactly what we want. We've seen some pretty great dogfights in space. When you have something called Starfighter, people expect there to be a lot of really cool space battles. Like an X-Wing Starfighter pilot, that's what you think. Just right away. So you better have some of that in this movie. Yeah. Matt Smith is also in a new movie called Caught Stealing. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Sounds good to me. No, it's supposed to be 4 seasons? Okay. I thought it was only supposed to be 3. Let's look it up. How many seasons is House of the Dragon going to be? 4 seasons. How's the no, season 3 won't be the final season. Season 4 will be. There you go. Maybe Matt Smith's character dies in it because I saw him talking about it and he was like, "Yeah, this is the last one." You know. Mia Goth is also in Nolan's Odyssey movie. Is she really? Huh. I didn't know that either. Wasn't that what Rogue Squadron was supposed to be? The director must be fuming. Well, Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie every couple months gets an update that it's still in progress, that it's still being created. I don't know if that's still the case, but yes, that's sort of what Rogue Squadron was supposed to be. This big X-Wing fight scene. And honestly, it still could happen, Rogue Squadron. Depending on where it takes place in the timeline, Starfighter might not affect it at all. Yeah. On this day, 1 year ago, we lost James Earl Jones. Yeah. That still doesn't feel real. We were talking about this the other day, me and Sam, because we were talking about Darth Vader and all the people who brought Darth Vader to life. And you got David Prowse, you got James Earl Jones, Sebastian Shaw was, of course, Anakin or Vader in the mask, in the suit, in Return of the Jedi, and they're all gone. And we, of course, now still have Hayden, and James Earl Jones allowed them to use his voice, so we're still going to get more Vader. But it's still pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Spoiler, Mike, some haven't read the books. What you talking about? Starfighter and Rogue Squadron are both spaceship movies. I wonder if they'll be connected. I don't think they'll be connected because I think Rogue Squadron was supposed to take place in a post-original trilogy time period and Starfighter in a post-sequels. So they're not really even in the same time period at all. But maybe. I don't know. It's possible. Yeah, Game of Thrones had 8 seasons. House of the Dragon only has 4. I think it's like the books. So I don't know. Hopefully it has a better ending. Would we love Vader without him? Well, I mean, no, he's the voice of Vader. Will always be. But when you look at Kenobi, I think it was Kenobi and another project, I don't remember, but that was digitally created. James Earl Jones's voice used to create Vader's lines. Something else after Kenobi, I can't remember what it was. Maybe Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor? I don't remember. But yeah, he hasn't been the voice of Vader for a while now. I saw this morning that Taika Waititi is working on another movie. Looks like his Star Wars movie might have to wait a little bit longer. The Taika movie, I think, of all these movies we talk about, is the least likely to happen. Will he make a Star Wars movie eventually? Maybe, but it might be another 5-10 years from now. Just with the current slate of what's coming, it doesn't look like his movie fits anywhere. You know? Yeah. The problem with Game of Thrones is they ran out of books. Yeah, well, I mean, George R.R. Martin never finished. He still hasn't finished, by the way, the ending of that story. So they had to come up with it on their own. Yeah. But getting back to Star Wars, Oscar Isaac being in Starfighter would be perfect. Like, it would lead you directly into the post-sequel world where all these things are connected by what the future looks like in the galaxy after the sequel trilogy events. Palpatine's gone. The Sith are gone. What's the next villain? Hopefully it's Mia Goth and Matt Smith and whatever they end up being. But what's the next government look like with the First Order and the New Republic gone? Poe is involved in all of that. So if this story is supposed to set up the post-sequel world, is supposed to kickstart us off into this new era of content, then I feel like Poe Dameron specifically has to be there. Maybe Rey, if you're going to set up the Rey movie, if this Finn Gray character is going to be a Force-sensitive kid, maybe. John Boyega would be great. But of all those 3 main trio of the sequel trilogy, Poe Dameron is the most likely. Starfighter being the name of the frickin' movie leads you to believe that it will involve starfighters, which would be Poe Dameron. So I certainly hope we get to see Poe Dameron in this Starfighter movie. It would make things a lot cooler, and you could advertise it as like, Oscar Isaac's back in Star Wars, and people would be like, yeah! So hopefully. And as we know, that has started filming now. So only time will tell. But as the chat seems to have spoken, 71% of you say yes, you do think he'll be in the movie. I agree with you people. I really, really do. But we do have to move on here because we got a shit ton of things to talk about. Okay, so next up, actually, let's stay on the Starfighter topic because Screen Rant wrote this article. Yeah, Screen Rant. This is actually a good one, okay? I like what they're talking here. Screen Rant, shout out to you guys. Star Wars just set up its new Luke Skywalker replacement. And this is talking about Star Wars Starfighter. So let's take a look at this. Starfighter just set up the franchise's new Luke Skywalker replacement. Decades after the character was first introduced in the original Star Wars movie, Sean Levy's Starfighter is set to arrive in theaters May 28th, 2027. Almost exactly 50 years after George Lucas's first Star Wars movie, later retitled A New Hope, premiered in cinemas and changed Hollywood forever. Of course, it's no surprise that Lucasfilm would choose to debut a movie in such a pivotal year for the franchise. But it seems Star Wars Starfighter will celebrate Star Wars' original in more than one way, which, while few details about the story have been released so far, those that have been published seem specifically curated to invoke nostalgia for A New Hope and Luke Skywalker in particular. Now, before you go, oh no, they're just remaking A New Hope. That's not what's happening here. But one character in particular is very, very close. So Flynn Gray, the kid who was sitting next to Ryan Gosling in the first image, Flynn Gray's new character is Skywalker coded. Now, he's not going to be a Skywalker. I mean, maybe he is. Maybe he's the long-lost son of Luke Skywalker and Mara Jade, and Amy Adams is playing his mom! But that's just a theory for now. But, sorry, Luke. But, starring Ryan Gosling, young Irish actor Flynn Gray, and several big-name stars like Amy Adams, Mia Goth, Matt Smith, Aaron Pierre, Starfighter is set to take place 5 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker, and will present a wholly original, standalone story. According to a previous report by The Hollywood Reporter, Ryan Gosling will be portraying a character forced to protect a young charge from evil persuaders. Not very specific on that, who the evil people are, hoping maybe Sith or better, but this young charge being played by Flynn Gray. While the Starfighter title certainly implies that Gosling will be playing a pilot of some kind. By the way, shout out to, hang on one sec. Shout out to one sec, Diamond Deed for making this awesome poster here. Check this thing out. Oh, I forgot to get to that first super chat. Hang on, I'll get to these super chats one sec. Check out this. This is a fan-made poster of Starfighter. Now, again, Coruscant's in the background and X-Wings and stuff. We don't know if that's what this movie's going to be about. But even still, seeing Ryan Gosling in the suit looks pretty awesome. Pretty damn cool. So, shout out Diamond D's. Let me get to those super chats real quick. First things first, let me get back to that first one. Sorry about that. Darth Plagueis lives with a very generous $10 holla. I appreciate that. Says Starfighter hype. Who else could be in this movie? Well, I think we kind of already answered this because this was from a while ago. But you got Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron could be in there. John Boyega could show up if they're going to set up this kid to be a Force user. Same with Daisy Ridley's Rey. But other, I guess, lesser important characters than the main trio, I don't know. I don't think they would bring in any more familiar faces unless maybe like some really, really, really low-level characters, like maybe like a Babu Frick or something, but I don't know how he would be involved in this story at all. So I don't know. I don't know who else could be in it other than the main three. But Star Wars Santa with a very generous $15 holla. God damn, you guys are feeling generous today. I appreciate that quite a bit. Says, give us a Babu Frick saying good cups follow orders. Okay, well, funny you bring that character up. Grogu probably not in Starfighter, but probably in the Rey movie. Yeah, I'd probably say no for Starfighter. Let me channel my inner Babu Frick. Hey. He sounds like I don't even know. Hey, hey. Yeah. What do I have to say? Good cups, follow orders? Yeah, good cups, follow orders. Hang on. Hey, hey. Good cups, follow orders. He's got like a baked out of his mind sort of Jamaican type of, you know. Okay, where were we? Before I was so rudely interrupted. I appreciate it. All right. So Ryan Gosling will be portraying a character who's forced to protect his young charge from evil persuaders. While the Starfighter title certainly implies that Gosling will be a pilot of some kind, perhaps even a Force-sensitive one, Star Wars Starfighter was an early 2000s video game in which gamers played as a starfighter pilot during the events of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, in the invasion of Naboo. Gray's role is even more interesting than that. A youngster being hunted by villains would imply that there is more to him than meets the eye. Perhaps this new kid, this new kind of chosen one character, I certainly hope not, but yeah, I certainly hope not. A messianistic, sure, figure of some sort, just like Luke Skywalker turned out to be. I don't think he'll be anywhere close to a chosen one or anything of that sort, but a Force user could be a possibility here. Now tell me in the chat, do you think that this kid that Ryan Gosling's supposedly protecting is going to be Force sensitive? Yes or no? Flynn Gray will be playing a Force sensitive child. Yes or no? Could be Broom Boy. Wrong button. Could be Broom Boy. But I certainly hope not. But do you think he will be Force sensitive? And that could easily lead to him being involved with the Rey New Jedi Order and all that other stuff. Yes or no? Tell me in the chat. Tell me in the chat. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of yeses. All right. Okay. Fine. I mean, he doesn't have to be Force sensitive. You guys are going like, yeah, of course he'll be Force. No. He doesn't have to be Force sensitive. Okay. Continuing. When we first met Luke on Tatooine in A New Hope, he wasn't being hunted per se, but knowledge of his existence was dangerous. He was destined to become the hope of the Jedi, after all, and as we later learn, the Empire had done everything in its power to wipe out the Jedi from the galaxy, as you know.
Execute Order 66.
That's not to say that Flynn Gray's character will end up being a Jedi, though it is on brand for a new era of Star Wars storytelling. Anything is possible. However, Matt Smith and Mia Goth's Matt Smith and Mia Goth's villains end up being, they're knowing, or at least believing, that Flynn Gray's character is Force sensitive, much like Luke would surely be a legitimate reason for them coming after him. There is no other reason that I see they would have to chase down a child unless he is Force sensitive. That's why I think it's pretty much, I wouldn't say guaranteed, but it's highly likely that he will be Force sensitive, because why else would these two be hunting him down? And yes, it would be cooler if he was Force sensitive. Exactly. Yeah, that is also true. First images of of Starfighter tease a sort of new Luke Skywalker vibe as well, with this speeder behind them and all this other stuff. To celebrate the new Starfighter being in production in late August, Lucasfilm released this image seen above. Ryan Gosling and Gray sitting on a land speeder. Though the design has been modified, the speeder looks suspiciously like the one that Luke and Obi-Wan Kenobi used to get around Tatooine in A New Hope, especially the slim frame and the rounded front. Other characters in Star Wars productions have used land speeders since then, of course, but they have become a major part of Star Wars world building. Yet the way of the image is presented as though the speeder will be a part of Ryan Gosling and Flynn Gray's Star Wars story rather than just a background prop, once again suggests that Gray's character will take after Luke Skywalker, even in the smallest of ways. Does convey a very Luke an Obi-Wan type of picture here. So, Star Wars isn't celebrating A New Hope's anniversary, or is celebrating A New Hope's anniversary in the best way. And here's Luke standing in front of his land speeder. 2025 will be an undeniably big year for Star Wars, and not just because it's franchise's 50th anniversary. Starfighter represents a start to a new era. As John Groom pointed out, this will probably be one of the most important Star Wars movies ever created because of what it does for the next phase of Star Wars content. It's the beginning of a new era, as the movie will kickstart the exploration of a completely uncharted part of the Star Wars timeline. Anything can happen next. New villains, new lore, new conflict. It's honestly a great spot to be in. What better way to celebrate A New Hope's monumental impact than by taking a leap of faith into the unknown, the same way that George Lucas did with his first fantasy space opera. So, taking off the backs of what George Lucas did 50 years prior, they're starting off a new time period, kickstarting off a new story with new villains, new characters, new conflict, and new lore. For the past few years, Star Wars has been surviving off prequels, spin-offs, and legacy character cameos. Though The Mandalorian was a wonderfully fresh proposition, when Season 1 first premiered on Disney Plus in 2019, it has since become a vehicle of continuing other older storylines. I mean, yeah. Especially Season 3 with the whole Mando stuff from the Clone Wars and etc. That doesn't make 2026's Mandalorian and Grogu movie any less exciting, however, because it's still good. But it also highlights why Starfighter feels like a true start to something new. The Mandalorian and Grogu doesn't. I mean, it's going to be Star Wars movie for the first time in 7 years, which is awesome, but it doesn't feel like something new. We've already been established with these characters for 3 seasons on Disney Plus. But we already know that Starfighter will be a fully original and, most importantly, standalone story. I can forgive the obvious nod to Luke Skywalker's first appearance. In fact, I'm willing to embrace them. Acknowledging Flynn Gray's character's similarities to Luke in this scenario doesn't feel like nostalgia bait. It doesn't feel like sort of what The Force Awakens did to an extent. His story won't be like Luke's story. How could it be? I mean, let's be honest, it can't at all. But just the similarities of him being this hero kid, and of course the land speeder from the original image. This is the best way for Star Wars to honor A New Hope's anniversary, introducing new stories, new characters, inspired by, not overly influenced by, what came before. So pretty much what The Force Awakens tried to do. Because as much as people say The Force Awakens is like a carbon copy of A New Hope because there's so much similarities going on there, from Kylo is pretty much Vader, and Snoke's pretty much Palpatine, and the Starkiller base is the Death Star, and First Order of the Empire, Resistance Rebels, all that stuff. A kid on a desert. It's all pretty similar. Force Awakens is still a great movie. Love The Force Awakens. Even though it is very similar, it's got some pretty great things going on there. But given what we already know, I doubt that we will have another Force Awakens situation on our hands. As Star Wars branches out into new eras and new genres, Starfighter feels like the perfect tribute to the start of the galaxy far, far away. A riff of the old classic, rather than a remake. So, and yes, Starfighter comes out on May 28th, 2027. So I do think that they got a point here. They're making us believe, especially by the first image that we got, that this character is very much like the new Luke. Not in a carbon copy and paste type way, but this is 50 years after Star Wars was created. This kid is most likely going to be Force sensitive, as many of you in the chat even agree with me on that. This kid will most likely be Force sensitive and could be a key to the future of the Star Wars timeline in a post-sequel world, very much like Luke Skywalker was 50 years ago. So it's a nod, but it's not a remake. I like it. I like it a lot. I really can't wait for the Starfighter movie. The amount of new information that we've got about this movie has got me ridiculously excited just over the last couple weeks, just from the cast and the first official image and all these reports about the movie. It's got me hyped up. I literally went from not being excited about Starfighter at all to being pretty damn excited. It's still a year and a half away, over a year and a half away. So it's a while until we get this movie. But tell me in the chat, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Star Wars Starfighter? What's the excitement level for this movie? After getting the cast, after it now being in production, and of course, some crazy theories we got thrown around. Brum boy, Mara Jade. We got some pretty crazy theories. My hype for Starfighter is almost passing the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Wow. I think what the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is going to do is bring you back to sort of 2019 in that first season of The Mandalorian. It's going to be very Mando and Grogu doing their own thing. Now, it will still have the same thing that season 1 did. It teases Boba Fett in season 1 with the Spurs walking up to dying Fennec Shand. It's got the Empire all up in season 1. The Mandalorians, of course, and the armor and all that greatness. You'll have way more of that in the movie, but it'll be like The Mandalorian season 1 on steroids. And I think it'll recapture that excitement. But let's see. For Starfighter, on a scale of 1 to 10, we got some 10s. Holy crap. 8, 6, 6, 8, 8, 8, 7.5, 7 for now. 10, 9. Okay, 0. Okay. So we're around like from the looks of it, 6 to like an 8. A bunch of 10s, but like an 8 to a 6-ish area. I'm seeing a lot of. Yeah. Mike, did you see the trailer for Star Wars Beyond Victory? Yes, we'll watch that later. We'll watch it later, yeah. It's a trailer for a Star Wars video game. Yeah. Ahsoka Season 2, I'm the most hyped for. Valid. Me too. Yeah. Favreau and Filoni are less original than Levi? What do you mean by that? Favreau and Filoni are less original. Oh, you mean like they're doing similar things on Disney Plus? I don't know what you mean. Favreau is leaving to do something else. I'm sure he'll do other things. But he'll always be working with Star Wars. I mean, not always, but at least until the Mandalorian trilogy is over. Cautiously optimistic. Nice. Quote of the day. Cautiously optimistic. I like it. I like it. All right, we do have to move on here from Star Wars Starfighter because we got a bunch of other things to talk about. Just quickly about Rebuild the Galaxy because there's not much news on Rebuild the Galaxy Season 2. It's in 10 days. So 10 days from now, just about over a week, it's on a Thursday night into a Friday. So just in 10 days from now, Rebuild the Galaxy Season 2 comes out. We talked about it last stream a lot, so we won't focus too much on this stream. Darth Revan, first time on screen. Cal Kestis, first time on screen, not in a video game. It's going to be really, really cool. It's not canon, but it's still going to establish those characters in a different medium. It's going to be awesome. Not much to talk about. I'm sure we'll get a new trailer at some point over the course of the next week, and we'll break it down. But that's all I got for Rebuild the Galaxy. It's in 10 days. That's really all the news I have. It's in 10 days. Start the countdown now. The next Star Wars show is in 10 days. And that's about it. When it comes to talking about Darth Revan in Old Republic, the KOTOR Remake was a big topic of discussion last stream. And it seems like they almost heard us talking about it because this leak happened online today or yesterday. I forget what day it was. But let's take a look at this. It was yesterday. Okay. Knights of the Old Republic Remake concept art has been leaked. It shows a reimagined Kashyyyk. So this is Kashyyyk right here, the Wookiee planet, Wookiee home world, in the time of the Old Republic. Remember that. So this is a long time before you see Kashyyyk in Revenge of the Sith. I guess because that's where you see him in live action. Concept art from Aspire's canceled Knights of the Old Republic remake has surfaced online from MP First. I don't know what that is. showcasing how the studio was intended to redesign the Wookiee homeworld of BioWare's iconic game. The remake is now being redeveloped by Saber Initiative. It moved studios. Oh, you guys can't see that. It did move studios. This was a couple of years ago, actually, that it moved studios. But concept art shows the planet of Kashyyyk, one of 4 planets that the player character and their party visits after completing both the Terrace and Dantooine portions of the galaxy-spanning adventure. Easy for me to say. The concept art was shared by one of the artists who worked on Aspire's vision of the game as part of their creative portfolio, showing plans for more elaborate redesigns to show you below. So when you look at this, let's put them side by side. So this is the original Kashyyyk from Knights of the Old Republic from 2003. So 2003, we're talking 22 years ago. Obviously, the graphics are way worse. And this is just a concept art, so you can't really tell from this how the graphics would look in this game. But the reason that a KOTOR remake is so wanted by Star Wars fans is because of just, first of all, visually. Visually, we want to see these games, this incredible story, in a better looking way. Like, you just want to see it remade for that single purpose. But also because it's going to be canon, a canon adaptation, and bringing in the canon of the Old Republic would be awesome. Getting to see Darth Revan, but just the entirety of the Old Republic brought into canon is what we were hoping from this game. Now, this game has been very quiet for years and years. I think it goes into it here. Yes, here. What does this mean for the progress of the revival? Realistically, nothing. This is just a leak. This is relevant only to the previous version of the game. I mean, they'll probably use this stuff, but even still. Before it switched development teams, the development on the remake of Knights of the Old Republic has been long and troubled process. Initially announced at PlayStation exclusive in 2021, 4 years ago, Aspire Media, a company that usually prioritizes remasters rather than full-blown remakes, took the helm of this project. Saber Initiative was rumored to be enlisted, seemingly to help Aspire, but the project moved completely out of Aspire's hands, as much as their work has been discarded and redeveloping from scratch. As it stands, the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake remains in the pipeline with little updates on its progress, other than Saber Initiative's executive Tim Willits, reaffirming that the development on the game is moving right along, albeit with nothing to show for it. So, is this game still in development? Yes. Will we see it anytime soon? Probably not. But the fact of the matter is, the Old Republic, in and of itself, is coming very, very soon. Within the next 10 years, I would assume, we start to get some Old Republic content. That means Revan, and that means Sith and Jedi Wars, Mandalorian Wars. You're talking some of the greatest stories to ever not be told in canon Star Wars yet. And this is just the start of it. So a leaked image from the KOTOR remake. Pretty damn cool seeing Kashyyyk reimagined thousands of years before the prequel trilogy. Yeah. I don't know. Tell me in the chat. Do you think this KOTOR remake is still going to happen? Yes or no? Do you think it's actually still going to be created? I mean, eventually it has to be, right? At some point. Rob, what's up? Can I get some good cups full of orders in the chat, please? Bumba. Okay. So. We did that. KOTOR Remake, we did that. Visions Volume 3, October 29th. So, not much. Yeah, Visions Volume 3. We haven't gotten a trailer for that yet, which is still weird. Oh, yes, okay. This is the last thing I want to talk about. The Mandalorian and Grogu. So, we've been talking about how this movie is likely to be the beginning of a new trilogy. The Mandalorian and Grogu. And it fully depends on the success of the first movie. Now, let's just start here. Let's put up a new poll in the chat. Let's put up a poll. By the way, this is still 71% of you think that Oscar Isaac will be back as Poe Dameron in Star Wars Starfighter. I like that quite a bit. Okay. Look at all those good cuts full of orders. You guys are crazy. Okay. Do you think The Mandalorian and Grogu is the beginning of a new trilogy? Yes or no? Yes or no? And while you do that, actually, I really have to go pee. I usually can wait till the end of the stream, but I really have to go pee right now. So I'll be right back, chat. Entertain yourselves. Talk about the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, whether it will be the beginning of a trilogy. And if so, why? And if not, why? I will be the Flash. Hang on. Okay. What did I miss, Chad? Huh. So it's going to be a trilogy? Yes, no, maybe so. Yes, no, maybe so. Before we even read this article, because I got a whole article about this, what do we think? What do we think? I don't think the way that Disney makes movies and shows without committing. I don't like the way, that Disney makes movies and shows without committing. Like the end of Solo or Book of Boba Fett. They lack balls. Okay, interesting. Interesting to take. I think the reason that they aren't going to greenlight a whole trilogy before seeing whether it succeeds or not is because if the Mandalorian and Grogu movie bombs, like it absolutely just bombs, then they're already committed to making 2 more of those. I don't think the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is going to bomb. I think it'll make well over $1 billion, but we've had this argument a million times already. I think it'll be a enormous success, but if it isn't, I think they thought that Andor would have been a bigger success, viewership-wise. I think they thought The Acolyte was going to be a bigger success. It came in with a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think they don't know what to expect. Skeleton Crew should have been more of a success. It was not. So they don't really know what to expect. I would say if they announced it as a Mando trilogy, it would get people more excited. It'd get people more hyped up for the Mandalorian and Grogu because they would assume that it's going to be the beginning of a trilogy. But I don't know if it'll work. If they'll announce it first. I think it's more likely that they'll announce the trilogy after the success. George stuck to his guns with the Clone Wars, even though the movie got a lot of hate. True, but it's not like they stopped making Star Wars after the sequel trilogy got a lot of hate. Or they stopped making even continuations of those stories. Because we're still getting sequel stories now in books and comics and going back to movies soon. And we got Disney Plus shows that connect to the sequels left and right. Yeah. True. I'd say no to a traditional trilogy perspective. Okay. This movie is more of a standalone, self-contained story. Any future Mandalorian and Grogu movies wouldn't really be a part of this movie's story. Interesting. There is a big problem because if it is a trilogy, how do you even talk about it? You got the prequels, you got the originals, you got the sequels. What is this? A Mando trilogy? I guess you could call it that. But what do you call it episodically wise? Episodically wise? That's definitely not a word. How do you call it episode 6.25, episode 6.5, and episode 6.75? That doesn't work. I don't know. I don't know. I'm excited to see what Sam thinks of the stranger. Oh, me too. She's going to hate him because he kills everybody. But yeah, no, I'm excited too. We are on the last arc, or no, second to last arc? We are coming to a close on season 6 of Clone Wars. So we're almost at season 7, and we're almost done with the Clone Wars because season 6 and 7 are the two shortest ones. It's only like 13 episodes and 12 episodes or something like that. Yeah. Indeed. Did you wash your hands, young man? Yes. They're actually still kind of wet because I didn't have a chance to dry them because I ran like the Flash to come back here. That being said, I hope we get a Mandalorian and Grogu movie. A trilogy of movies would be awesome. Well, I think what we're going to see is this happen a lot moving forward. I don't think Starfighter is the beginning of a trilogy, but I think it's going to be like, if that's a success, then we'll make more there and probably make a trilogy off of it. You know? Is Gunji still alive? As far as we're aware. I mean, he's in the Bad Batch. But I'm not too sure. I need to know if Sam picks him out as the Phantom Menace of of Acolyte from his first scene. Oh. That's actually interesting because she, of course, watches a lot of these live streams. She's not watching right now, I don't think. But she probably just knows from just being near me that Chimere is the stranger. But actually, I don't know. So maybe she doesn't. We'll see. What's next for Samantha, Rebels? No, well, so we're going to watch Clone Wars, and then we're going to go back to the beginning and start over. So we're going to go Clone Wars, then the Acolyte, then watch the prequels again, then the Bad Batch, and go from there. So Bad Batch to Solo, to Kenobi, to Rebels, to Rogue One, or Andor, Rogue One, Originals, Mando, Mando 2, Book of Boba Fett, Mando 3, Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew. Boom. All before May 22nd, 2026, so we can all pack out a theater. All you people who love Star Wars, and Sam can watch the Mandalorian and Grogu movie in theaters with us. That's the goal. Yeah. Would you have mentioned the stranger at some point? I mean, yes, but how much does she really pay attention to me, you know? She doesn't know what I'm talking about when I talk about the Acolyte, so she probably wouldn't understand what I'm even saying, you know? So hopefully she forgets. Hopefully she forgets. Yeah. Watching everything in order takes forever now? Oh, yeah, it does. Indeed, it does. Oh, and I forgot about the tail stuff, too. Yeah. Is she looking for a nerd degree? I think so. I mean, she's doing all this. I think so. Okay, getting back to the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. So this article is from the Direct. Let's take a look at this. Star Wars' 4th movie trilogy will happen under one major condition. Lucasfilm reportedly has its eyes to make a new Star Wars trilogy, but Disney will need to see a few statistics before pulling the trigger and giving Lucasfilm the go-ahead. The last time a Star Wars film graced the big screen was in 2019, and that was The Rise of Skywalker, which at the time closed the books on the Skywalker saga. After multiple movies came in and out of development, such as Rogue Squadron, we talked about that today, which was originally set to release in 2023, but has since been shelved. Think about that. It's 2025. we'd be celebrating the 2-year anniversary of Rogue Squadron this year. If things had gone according to plan. That's crazy. That's crazy. But The Mandalorian and Grogu will undoubtedly be coming to theaters in 2026. That's confirmed. That won't be changed. That's confirmed. Finally bringing Star Wars movies back. According to a recent report from industry insider Daniel Rickman via his Patreon, Lucasfilm is trying to persuade Disney to greenlight an entire trilogy of films based around Din Djarin, a.k.a. The Mandalorian and Grogu. Even though the Mandalorian and Grogu film, won't be released until May 22nd, 2026, Lucasfilm apparently anticipates that it will be a success, and The Mandalorian's story that began on Disney Plus will carry over to the big screen indefinitely. Now, they anticipate it being a success, as do I, but it's not a guarantee that it will be a success. That's the big deal. Yes, Grogu's really cute. Yes, it had the most success on Disney Plus for any of its Star Wars shows, and I assume it will be successful on the big screen. But stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. Reports have surfaced in the past that Lucasfilm was potentially eyeing a trilogy for The Mandalorian and Grogu, but this most recent report details that the production company founded by George Lucas is really pushing for Disney to allow a Mando trilogy. However, Lucasfilm's pressure on Disney isn't enough to get it greenlit for 2 more films. According to Daniel Rickman, a trilogy getting made depends on how well The Mandalorian and Grogu performs. So Lucasfilm is really pushing for this trilogy, but it all depends on how well this next year's movie does. That's really interesting. Disney is not letting them greenlight a trilogy for The Mandalorian before this movie comes out. Now, from Disney's perspective, again, they have to see the success of the movie first, and that makes sense. However, like I mentioned earlier, the amount of hype that would be added on to this movie, if there was a trilogy behind it, would be insane. People would be getting hyped up, looking for things to be like, this is going to be the new villain of the new trilogy. Obviously Thrawn, but it would be a lot more hype for an entire 3 movies. It would be hype for an entire 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 years, because that's how long a trilogy takes to make. It wouldn't just be a standalone film anymore. It would get people way more excited. Way more excited. So, that's why I think it should be a trilogy before it has success in theaters. But let's continue. Since Lucasfilm was pushing so hard for a trilogy of films to get made, it's safe to assume, if it ends up happening, The Mandalorian will never return to Disney Plus. I mean, that pretty much seems likely anyway, just because it's going to the big screen at this point. But what this does also make me think is, if they're pushing so hard for it to be a trilogy, there's already the idea for the trilogy. Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, Kathleen Kennedy, they've already cooked up the idea for a Mando trilogy. They already have the outline of how it would work. Because they've learned their lesson from the sequel trilogy. They're not going to go into another trilogy without a fully fledged plan for the entire thing. Maybe things can change as the trilogy comes out, but the story overall will remain the same. The creatives will likely remain the same, so you don't have a J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson situation happen where you're going back and forth between 2 creative minds. But if they're pushing this hard, they must have an idea for the entire trilogy, like ready to go. They must already have that done. And still, Disney says no. But it was already confirmed that season 4 of the hit show was turned into the upcoming Mandalorian and Grogu movie. But other stories that may have originally been planned for season 4 or even season 5 would likely be brought into that trilogy if there was going to be a season 5. Lucasfilm already has other movies in development. Technically, movies like Lando and Taika Waititi's movie are still active, but are just moving slowly. However, moving forward, Well, Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie is reportedly back in active development as well, and fans are very excited about Sean Levy's Starfighter movie, with multiple A-list actors attached to it. And it seems to be moving along in developmental progress quite quickly, as it's already started filming. It's also important to mention Simon Kinberg is technically developing a trilogy of his own. It was once rumored to be a trilogy that would act as episode 10, 11, 12, but that was never confirmed by Lucasfilm or Disney. And no news has been revealed about the trilogy since its announcement. So it could be on the shelf already and may not ever come out. I don't think that's the case with Simon Kinberg's trilogy. I think he's just writing the whole thing. Like, he's coming up with the entire idea for the trilogy, and that's why they're not giving us any updates for it, because there is none to give. Like, that trilogy is still a ways away. You're not going to get the start of that trilogy till at least 2028 at the very earliest, and I seriously doubt that that's even the case. Yeah. Even if Simon Kinberg's trilogy is released at some point, Lucasfilm is clearly more excited about the potential of a Mando trilogy. So, the Mandalorian movies would be released before the Kinberg movies. I mean, they could go at the same time, but yeah. And the former saga would absolutely wrap up before Kinberg's films. I don't know about that. So, will the Mandalorian and Grogu movie make enough money to warrant a trilogy? We'll get to that in 1 second. I want to harp on this for one more sec. The fact that Lucasfilm is pushing so hard for this trilogy, and yet Disney is saying no. They're saying not until we see the success of The Mandalorian and Grogu. Do you think this is a good thing, or do you think Disney is getting in the way? Thoughts? Opinions? What do we think? Disney just has had too many flops lately. Yes, Disney has had that issue. That's for damn sure. But maybe they just don't think that it's going to be a success. Or maybe they do, they just can't financially or optically greenlight a trilogy without having seen its first part. I think they're just worried that what happened with the sequel trilogy will happen again. I would prefer to have them just make a trilogy in an era, then do another era after that. The time hopping is confusing for noobs. Yes, for normie fans, it's a little bit more difficult to understand how we're doing all this time jumping across the galaxy. Sure, I understand that. Well, let's be honest, it's always been that way. You go from the original trilogy to the prequel trilogy, and the prequel trilogy to the sequel trilogy. You're already jumping all over the place. That's sort of what the crawl is for. Star Wars has never been dumbed down for its fans. I think that's why Marvel had so much success over the last 15 years, is they never dumbed it down for the fans. The amount of Easter eggs and things that are callbacks to other projects, they understand the fans are fans, and they'll get it. If The Mandalorian is perceived as a kid film with third-tier characters who appear to diehards, then its chances of big profits are limited. True. If it's just a kid film. But I mean, you've watched The Mandalorian. It's not. Yes, Grogu's really cute, but you still got some pretty adult things, for lack of a better word, going on there. I'm pleased that Lucasfilm has a vision and is confident in the trilogy, one step at a time. Yes, it's good to hear that Lucasfilm is pushing this trilogy so hard because they have a vision for a trilogy. That's great. But I wonder what Disney's hesitation is. Is it because of there's too many big flops lately that aren't related to Star Wars? They're animated flops or they're live action remake flops. Maybe. But let's continue. Let's see what they have to say about it making a lot of money here. Will the Mandalorian and Grogu movie make enough money to warrant a trilogy? A Mando movie trilogy depends entirely now on the success of how the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is at the box office. when it is released in 2026. So the big question is if it will cross that line for Disney, what Disney wants it to cross or not. Star Wars is always wildly successful in the box office. All 3 sequel movies crossed $1 billion in the box office. In fact, the only theatrical release in the Disney era at Star Wars did not hit $1 billion was Solo, a Star Wars story. Star Wars, and that might be, again, a reason as to why, because Solo is a spin-off of, or an origin story, I guess, of an iconic Star Wars character, Han Solo. The Mandalorian, although he has a lot of success on Disney Plus, and he's a pretty iconic character now in Star Wars, along with Grogu, it's not guaranteed to make a lot of money, because Solo supposedly should have been guaranteed to make a lot of money. Now, we talk about it time and time again. Solo had a lot of other things going around it. Avengers Infinity War, Last Jedi, all that stuff. But it is still an origin story for one of the biggest characters in Star Wars, and it didn't make money. It didn't make a lot of money. So that might be the concern from Disney's perspective on why The Mandalorian is not a guaranteed success. But Star Wars clearly has a lot of power in the box office, which is a good sign for the Mandalorian fans and for Lucasfilm. It is also worth noting that The Mandalorian has performed extremely well on Disney+. All 3 seasons received a lot of viewership, and a lot of fans are more than interested in Din Djarin and Grogu's story. It's hard to imagine a world where the Mandalorian and Grogu movie doesn't cross at least $700 million globally. The only potential reason, the movie may not make enough money for Disney to give Lucasfilm the green light to develop a trilogy. It's Disney Plus. Theatrical releases under the Disney umbrella are added to Disney Plus relatively quickly. Even recent MCU movies have made their way to streaming services in just a few months after their initial releases. But the theater to streaming window has at least been getting longer more recently, which is a great sign for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. With ticket and snack prices rising at the movie theaters, some fans may elect to wait for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie to be added to Disney Plus. This is actually a big concern for movies lately. Because of the quick turnover to streaming, fans just go, I'll wait. I'll just wait till it goes on Disney Plus. I'll just wait. I personally think it's way better to see a movie on the big screen because that's where it's supposed to be. Visually, it's way better, and audio-wise, I don't have a whole movie theater set up at my house. Now, if I did, things might be different. But it is a big concern for studios because of the quick turnaround. Now, guess what you could do? Not make it that quick a turnaround. I know the Thunderbolts just came on to Disney Plus at the end of August. That movie came out either late April or beginning of May. So that's actually a pretty long time. May, June, July, August, 4 months. That's a lot better. Still, I think it should be like 5 or 6 months. But people just go, I'll wait. Now, hopefully that isn't the case. Hopefully, by the time the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, people want to go see that movie so bad that they go opening night and see it multiple times if it's a really good movie. But the quick turnover to streaming is a big reason. I've seen a lot of you guys in the chat, big time Star Wars fans going, I'll just wait till it comes on to Disney Plus. Ticket prices are too high at movie theaters now that most people go, I don't need it. I don't need it. Yeah. However, if you want a free movie ticket, come we'll be doing the whole theater thing when the movie comes out. But you'd have to get to Massachusetts. That's the big issue. But continuing. It's also worth noting that the sequel trilogy left a bad taste in the mouths of many fans. However, Star Wars fans tend to at least show up when new projects are released, so it won't be a surprise if The Mandalorian and Grogu is a massive success. I think it will be, even with the fact that the sequel trilogy left the bad taste in some fans' mouths. It's not connected to that, or it might be, but it's not directly connected to it. And The Mandalorian and Grogu is directly connected to the success on Disney Plus. Fans love Din Djarin. Fans love Grogu. So hopefully it will continue. Am I allowed to do that? What? Rent out a theater? Sure, I'm paying for it. I think as long as I pay for it, I can do pretty much anything, right? Lucasfilm and Disney are still getting my money. You know? Oh my God. Ron with an insanely huge $20 holla. God damn, I appreciate that quite a bit. Says, I think even normie fans will want to see The Mandalorian and Grogu on the big screen. I think so too, because even if you haven't seen The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, you know the name. I was actually, this last weekend, I was just with a couple of my friends and some other people, and they were talking Star Wars, and some of them were like, yeah, I've never watched any of the Disney Plus shows. I've never really watched any of the shows at all. But they know who Din Djarin is, or at least they know him by The Mandalorian, and they definitely know who Grogu or Baby Yoda is. So I don't think it's going to be that difficult for them to market this movie, because even normie fans who've never seen a second of The Mandalorian know who that character is, and especially they know who Baby Yoda is. So that won't be too hard. I completely agree with you. I think that'll definitely be the case. Yeah. Popcorn fight. Yeah. All roads lead to Massachusetts. There you go. And yes, Ron says he'll be there for the movie. I know a lot of you guys have already said that you'd be there. We got to rent out a whole theater, though, so I'm going to need like 50 to 100 of you guys. But I've already got, I haven't listed out the amount, but I'm already probably around 20 people. Just from the channel, just from, of course, like people around. Yeah. So all roads lead to Massachusetts. But that's not for a while. We got 8 months until that happens, so probably around the new year, we'll start to plan it a little bit more. Yeah. Mandalorian is pretty much movie quality already, though. How do you improve on that so people can come to cinemas? Yes, I agree with you. The quality of The Mandalorian is really good, but there is nothing like a Star Wars movie, and especially seeing a Star Wars movie in theaters. For me, I wasn't alive for the original trilogy. I was alive for the prequels, but I wasn't old enough to see them in theaters. So whenever they do these re-releases, this year I watched Revenge of the Sith in theaters for the first time. It was so much better than watching it at home. Last year I watched The Phantom Menace? I think The Phantom Menace. And the year before I watched Return of the Jedi. Watching it in theaters is a completely different experience. So much better. I live in Florida. Road trip. Road trip. Mike, are we doing a rebuild watch party? Yes. Rebuild the Galaxy watch party for sure. Hoping that it's not at 3 a.m, but we'll see. We shall see. I've only seen 3 Star Wars movies in cinemas. Happy to increase that number. Oh, me too. Yeah, me too. Yeah. They could easily make a movie without needing a full backstory to The Mandalorian and Grogu. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I don't think The Mandalorian will have to be a necessity to have watched before seeing the movie. But we'll see. Yeah. Okay, but I do have to get on out of here. Oh, 66. 66% of you guys do think that The Mandalorian and Grogu will be a trilogy. Wow. I wonder if that number will change. We shall see. We shall see. But until then, I do have to get on out of here. Wow, we kind of hit all the stages. Andor, Oscar Isaac, Starfighter, KOTOR Remake. We didn't really talk Visions Volume 3, but that's okay. We'll get to that when it gets closer to the show anyway. Rebuild the Galaxy, Mando Trilogy. We talked about it all today. We talked about it all. Okay, but watch out for a short in about an hour. I gotta go finish that up real quick. And yeah, live stream every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for the rest of your lives. Live stream tomorrow night on Star Wars Jedi Chat Podcast. Did I say that right? I feel like I said that backwards. Nope, I was right. Star Wars Jedi Chat Podcast with Ron, Nick, Derek, and myself. So, yeah. Oh, and the gaming channel. Yeah, let me send that link over here one sec. Oh, the trailer. Hang on, chat. Don't leave yet. We got a trailer to watch. I forgot about this. I forgot about this. This trailer just dropped a couple hours ago for Star Wars video game. Check this out.
Raw speed, lightning reflexes, and around every turn, the chance to chase your destiny.
So you working on your pod last night? Did it race?
Yeah, well, winning races is sort of my thing.
This is the Hut Coliseum where they hold the championship pod race.
And we're going to rob it.
You wanted to know what I learned from Sebulba? Bub? Only way to win is do what others are willing to do.
I know what you're gonna say, and I am being careful. I am.
Meddling in Hut business is about as far from being careful as I can imagine.
You stole from me.
The excitement on the sidelines is palpable. And they're off! Look that speed!
What the hell's going on here?
Push it, Bolo. Everything's riding on this. So, you in?
Okay. October 7th. So it looks like it just reminds me of the pod racing level from the Complete Saga, which was so hard. If you know, you know. That looks awesome. It's not just like this thing in front of you. You can put these things. You can put these things in your room. You just be hanging out with R2-D2 in your room. But you can also do pod racing, and the story sounds pretty sick. They're robbing the biggest pod race in the galaxy, working with Hutts. And that Hutt looked pretty scary, not gonna lie. Where was he at?
As far from being careful as I can imagine.
You stole from.
He's pretty scary looking. That looks awesome. I mean, I have not played much Star Wars VR games except for Vader Immortal, which was awesome. But I might have to get back into it. That looks cool. Pod racing, sign me up. And speaking of pod racing, today's short is about pod racing. So you might want to check that out. Okay, just a little plug. Smash a freaking like on this stream if you have not already. Hit that subscribe, hit that bell so you know, you know the deal. Oh, we got a ton of likes on this stream. This is what I like to see, chat. This is what I like to see. But until next time, may the force be with you. Always. Oh, yeah. What a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I just pasted that gaming channel link in the chat. We'll probably be streaming either tomorrow night or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But, yeah. So watch out for that. And a short later on today. So I appreciate you guys. We talked about quite a bit today. I'm already feeling my voice go away because we just talked and talked and talked. But until next time, hope you have a great rest of your evening. Great rest of your lives. And good night, everybody.